I'm Allison Smith, and this month's focus is where. We're hoping to inspire you to look outside of the classroom with your homeschool learning and look for opportunities everywhere around you. So sit back, let's get started. Today, we're going to start with the sweet spot of learning, where we learn best. So,
Definitely outside of classroom.
that was something that I didn't. I don't think I was comfortable with it when we first started, and I think you see most homeschoolers aren't comfortable with that in the beginning as well, right?
Well, we're going to talk about it, I'm sure, a little bit more in depth, but definitely I wasn't. I had to recreate a classroom, control the variables, put it back together with what I had experienced. Was something that I was naturally drawn to.
Another one, I'm such an academic, and I like to have my textbooks and things in my just natural bent that that I discounted as my kids were getting older. I think you were better at this than I was. The informal lessons, the lessons that we just learn, or that we know, we figure out that we need to, the ideas and the things and the skills that we need to learn as we come along, not just to make an appointment to do it, like a lesson plan.
We'll make it ongoing, and there's an opportunity to learn in everything that it is that we're doing. Something as simple as, hey, we're playing in the creek and we're going to dam it up, and
if I do this, what happens? If I do this, oh, the last time I was here, I used mud and it didn't work. So this time let's use rocks.
Well, then we learned about erosion, and then we found mica, and then that led into another, we'll start collecting rocks. And so let's look at what is it that does this. I mean, it was truly ongoing, and it really crossed every category.
Yeah. Oh, and that's another aspect of where we learn. We learn from failure. So, I mean, our kids kind of joke about how many times that they dammed up the creek. I think they did it every day for about 5 years straight. As soon as they got done with their math and their language arts, their phonics or whatever, they went out and played in the creek. And the creek still runs, so they're still unsuccessful at damming up the creek.
Yeah, well, then they would pitch a temper tantrum because somebody stepped on in the front of it because they wanted to see how deep it was, which caused it to overflow and then break the dam down. And then, here we go again. Let's rinse, repeat. Let's do it again tomorrow.
But every time they made a dam, they learned something new, and they learned through the failure. They didn't just learn because I gave them a lesson on how to be successful at building a dam.
Yeah, and then coming alongside that leads to that kind of wandering, if you will. It's not just segmented. It's not one subject at a time. It's overarching, and they cross over. And then, wow, you find yourself where they're adults, and they're all doing it currently now.
I find that the act of wandering through lessons where we learn through questions as opposed to answers. So many times we memorize the answers to questions as opposed to asking questions and then looking for the answer, and that leads to something else. So, like I started some seeds this week for our garden, and I was looking up the dates I wanted to do that, and it led me to companion plants. That led me to alternative ways to grow things, to avoid weeds, and so I learned a lot more than a specific time of when I'm supposed to plant my seeds for the garden, even though my garden's hardly ever successful anyway. I definitely learned from failure there. So one thing that we always think about, or as I look back on it, is that I don't know, we were traditional school graduates, and so when I think of education, I think of a classroom, and that's something that a lot of new homeschoolers think about, is where in the house that they're going to have their school setting. And we had a playroom. That's actually where we are right now. We're in our playroom, aka storage room. But we took half the room. The part that we're in right now, right behind us, we used to have this huge whiteboard. We started with desks. I think if you've watched some of our other videos, you've seen that. I don't think we have any pictures of that. I kind of wish we did now. Or I'd have to go back and look, because that was before when we started. That was before we had all of our stuff on our phones. But we had desks. I had this huge teacher's desk. We had a bookshelf with books that were mostly textbooks.
So everyone understands this is definitely was my bent. Okay, I when we made that decision, when we finally came together and said this is what we're going to do, this is what I had to come back to. We had to make the trip to be able to buy those, to put the whiteboard up. And then, as she's talking about now, it's not that it's been deconstructed because the desks are no longer here and the room is still here, but it's a different experience all the way around with where we sit.
Well, and then where we started with a schoolroom and thinking it had to be very formal and in one particular place in the house. As our kids got older, we graduated from the one schoolroom, which we did use that a lot, mainly because I preferred to keep all the books and all the school clutter is
Kept
a
it
nice word,
contained.
to keep it contained so that I didn't have it all over the house. But we kept all of our schoolwork in the schoolroom, but we had a lot of other places that the kids like to go. We had a couch in here, so we would have one that would go read a book on the couch, or we have one that's kinesthetic, so he would go on the air hockey table or other places. And then as they got older, they would go into the house. Say they were using the computer or something, or watching a video. They wanted to be in a little bit different room. Then they would go into the house, into the kitchen, and then as we truly were graduating, our youngest, I mean, she was very collaborative. So once the boys were gone and it was just her by herself, she rarely came to the playroom to do her schoolwork. She liked to do that with other
It
people.
was the total inverse of what we started with, that there were her school books were all over the house. It was not
Right.
contained, but it then prepared her for going off to college and being able to learn, adapt, and apply it wherever she was at, whether she went to the study room when she was in the dorm to be able to,
Mm-hmm.
separate herself. And then it was to where I think she needed AirPods to be able to do anything, but she was able to learn and adapt as it went on.
And before you think that our relaxation of where we did school was also a lack of structure in the school, I have to say that our youngest has the highest level of love of learning, has the highest, she was definitely the highest achievement in school in her college classes. And I think that we grew as a family. And we apologize sometimes to our oldest for being so strict and for not understanding that learning can happen anywhere.
Now we're going to talk about learning in unexpected places.
William, where do you like to learn?
You know me, I would much rather be outside. Um, and the key to mine is I know that the topic that we're talking about here is where it's outside, it's tactile, it's me being able to put my hands on it. And so when it rains, I'm inside. But it is I'm kinesthetic, and that definitely speaks to my bent.
So you learn by doing, and so that means you need to be in a place where you can have some sort of action. So if you are learning how to fix the garage door opener, you're going to need to be at the garage door opener and not just watch the YouTube video.
It definitely helps my ability to retain it, to be able to apply it to hopefully fix a garage door. And by the way, it's still not fixed.
No, it's not. And that's something that I think is really neat for kinesthetic learner is that we can change our location. Location doesn't just have to be about where we learn a specific skill. We just say we learn from the garden, but sometimes it's how we learn that we need to change our location because of the way the how we learn as much as where we learn.
So now we get to reciprocate. And so you're going to share where are your favorite places to learn.
My favorite places to learn is listening to other people. I like to talk with other people and have conversations. We do this all the time. This is just a conversation that we have. I'm a why person, so I like to talk out ideas and get beyond I read a lot, so the way that I work out ideas and what I think about things and how I understand things is to talk them out. We do.
Ask questions
Yeah, I
is what
do.
she likes to do, is ask the question.
And that's the second part, is I like to follow the rabbit trails. I'm a wandering learner. I like to think of one question that I might want answered, and then somehow I end up in 8 degrees of separation. And usually the next question from William is, how did you get there from that part? Yeah. All right. So we've graduated our kids, and obviously this room is now the room where we film this. And so you might want to know, where are our kids now? And that's a personal thing. Our oldest is he has his own family now. He's in his late 20s, we'll call him, which I don't know how we're that old to have kids in their late 20s. He's in his late 20s. He's about to have his second child. He has a 2.5-year-old, and he is in law enforcement.
And then we have our second newly married son, and he is a general manager of a manufacturing facility.
Yep. I think thriving there too as well, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, both of them. And then we have our third one, our little baby girl, as William likes to call her, and she is a year out of college. She majored in financial planning and marketing, and so she works for a financial advisor and is making her way as a early 20-year-old woman in the I guess the workforce, we'd call her. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. So that's where our kids are now.
And they're all off the bank of dad.
Yes, they are.
So kind of the continuation of where is homeschooling? How?
What's the future of it?
Yeah.
We both read a Washington Post article that I'll put in the description down below about what's happened with homeschooling in the last, definitely the growth in the last 4 or 5 years is so different than what we experienced 20 years ago. The reasons that people are, according to this article in the Washington Post, it says that it's growing nationwide about 50%. So the numbers may not be that big in that article as far as the quantity, but the percentage, the trend of it growing up is huge, especially when you compare it to other options like private school and public school that are actually decreasing in percentage, even though it shows a small percentage of the decrease in that article.
And I mean, we see it continuing, obviously, to increase, not just with who we come in contact with, both in the business world, but people that are relocating to this area. Once you get that flexibility, it's hard to go back.
Right. I see that it's going to continue to grow as workplace things change, as families continue to want to consolidate and get closer together, because that's another trend that we've seen.
Absolutely.
Just demographic wise, as we get older and we need to take care of relatives, and
so it's not just one specific subgroup or one thing that's driving it. It's really multifaceted.
Yep. So when we were a member of our local homeschool group, most of those members were homeschooling for religious reasons, but there's totally different reasons now. I mean, it's a lot of cultural things that we see, but then to have that flexibility to be able to, if you're working from home, to be able to take off time when you want to school in the morning and then play or do other things.
Field trips,
yes.
Allison.
Okay, exactly. In the afternoon, or even just knowing that but all of us homeschoolers have known for a long time, it's a lot cheaper to take a vacation outside of summer break, because everybody else, and also all the theme parks, all the busy places that people go during the traditional school year. Maybe you've experienced that. We've done that for a long time, where we've traveled in outside peak times, and people are realizing that those can be learning experiences too.
And then kind of lastly, I mean, on that as well, as some of the families that we work with more intimately, is their children are having to make some decisions now that were related to student loans.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not necessarily the degree path, but you look at
College costs so much now,
yes,
right? So
yes.
where maybe our generation and the next generation below us might have just made college an automatic choice. A lot of families now, in their 20s and 30s, that are having kids that are young, are saying, you know what, maybe we should think about something else. Maybe we should work towards a different educational goal. And being able to learn skills at a younger age. I know a family right now. The son is going to have his certificate in welding before he graduates from high school. So as soon as he graduates from high school, he's going to be able to go get a job as a welder somewhere. And if he had gone a college track, then he was going to have to get a degree to do that.
Yeah, and that comes along with understanding the individual bent
Mm-hmm.
of the child, and tailoring the education both in the formative or the primary years, and as you
Mm-hmm.
continue. We enjoy it to this day with adult children, and we're learning from our kids.
Yes.
Different
And
skill
part of that is
sets.
technology, though, because there's so many people now that have had technology a part of their lives. Basically their entire life has been with a phone or with some sort of thing, and we have so much access to information. So the emphasis in education, the trend in education, isn't going to be about what you know and how much you memorize for a test, but what kind of skills that you have that you can actually use in society.
And to continue to differentiate
Mm-hmm.
yourself in the marketplace. Absolutely.
All right, so this month in Homesmith ER Educational Resources, we've been looking at this question of where. Where do we learn? Where do we best learn? And hopefully you've seen that we can think out of the classroom. And I hope this video has helped you with that. So if you like that, subscribe to our channel. We also have other videos coming up this month, and maybe want to look at the ones from last month where we talked about why homeschooling, different issues with that, and different concerns and topics that deal with why. If you like us, again, hit that like button and subscribe button. We'll be giving you some more information with William's wisdom about what you can do if your spouse or your wife, or how to help your wife if you're homeschooling. And then also, I've got another book review that's coming up at the end of the month.